Say after me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Director Cussler.
Here.
Director Holtz. Here. Director Huffer.
Yes.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Director Lang.
Here.
We have a special presentation from the Global Senior Center. Patty Ham. You're up. Or not Patty Ham. She's over behind there, so.
Hi, Patty.
The president of the Global Center Commission. I brought some reinforcement. Our vice president, Sandy Berry. What I'd like to do, my intent tonight, for your request, is let you know who we are, how we got here, a little bit about how we operate, and why we do what we do. One more. One more. Okay, there's the rest of the gang, the commission. There are 15 of us total. Each of us have a 3-year term. We have a ring. Where you going? Sorry about that. Okay. Like I said, it's a 3-year term. Every year we interview. I don't know what he's doing, guys.
Whatever shows up, you have to say.
Okay, that's where we start. Reset. Okay, we interview every year. 1/3 of us, it's 5 people interview for current jobs or a possible replacement. And you guys supply somebody to sit in the room with us, and we appreciate that to help us with those interviews. How we got here, way back in history, the city of Thousand Oaks contracted you, CRPD, to operate programs and recreation for and related services for the seniors of the city. Thus, we were created, the Global Senior Center Commission, to assist you in that endeavor, make sure we fulfill that contract. We are a nonprofit organization, community service, and responsible directly to you. Among the primary purpose of the commission is to acquire and allocate funds for the senior center, and also to assist in organizing programs for the activities at that center. Okay. Now, I know you've seen this. My biggest hope is that all the names are right and in the right places. What I have that up there, the reason I have it up there is to show you the relationship between the commission and you. Essentially, your board, you have a general manager and who's in charge of administrative staff. And in that staff, you have our reliable Tim Dewar, who is responsible for the Global Center. And I just want to say some positive words about Tim. He's a huge benefit to everything we do in the communication, and hopefully you guys get that communication. Part of what we do, well, let's go through that list. Then you have the Global Center, who Tim supervises. Tim does many other things, but he does that. Then you have the Global Center, Patty Ham, the vivacious, energetic, highly intelligent creator of everything at the Global Center. I can't say enough good words about Patty. And her right-hand man is Mike McAdams. Mike supervises all the personnel and staff at the Global Center. And his most important job is to keep me out of trouble. He almost does that. Anyway, Mike's invaluable. He's on everything we do at the commission, and he makes it all work. But I wanted to show you that triangle of Patty, Mike, and the commission, how they work and how Tim reports back to you to keep us all in the loop. Part of that communication that we have with you is at the beginning of the year, we prepare a budget. That budget identifies all the money income and identifies all the expenses we intend to make that year. And it itemizes all those expenses, the programs and things that we have. That budget is approved by you. And then each month it's updated by our budget committee. And they make sure that everything we spend and everything we make is in that budget. So you have a good view. You get a copy of that every month. You also get a copy of the minutes of our committee meetings. And that's where the committees come in and share with the rest of the board at the commission meeting what's going on, what's happening, how we're progressing, and you get the minutes of that. So I think we're doing pretty good in sharing with you what we're doing and how we're getting there. Next one. One more. On that budget that's there, there's also a column on it that identifies major purchases. Mike and Patty and the commissioners meet and they have a wish list, a 10-year wish list of things that we want to purchase for the center. It's a wish list. And we've been doing so well that we are able to have enough money to purchase those things. Kind of wanted to give you an idea of what we buy and how much we spend on it. This is in addition to the programs that we sponsor. It's usually a 2-3 year list that gives you good information, but we got a COVID going this last couple of years, so I expanded it a little bit to give you a better idea. But it shows you some of the things we buy, even if it's only chairs and dollars or whatever, but you get computers, the computer room, the PA system, security cameras, projection for the main hall. You get a lot of activities. And just to let you know, just during this period here, we spent over $332,000 on stuff that wouldn't have been there. So I think we're doing a good job in that. Even during the COVID years, now we had no income during the COVID years, but we were able to spend $58,000 for stuff, the things that you need, shouldn't call it stuff, important things for you that you needed. How could we do that? Well, we don't spend all our money every year. What we don't spend, we invest, and we're able to have enough in that investment to carry us over the lean years of the unforeseen problems we have. So we're doing a good job in that too. Okay, next one. We do all of our work at the commission is done through committees. Every commissioner is on probably at least 2 committees, and we work. The budget and finance committee is the one that prepares the budget with Mike, Patty, and they not only prepare the budget, they monitor it every month to make sure it's going in the right direction. All the expenses are applied for, and we question whatever happens. You get a copy of that. We also have the bingo committee. I have to say right now that we would not be who we are without bingo. That's what it is. Well, it's kind of surprising. Bingo makes for the Global Center some 200,000 a year. That's amazing what they bring in. And it wouldn't have happened without the bingo committee. They work it as well as plan it. And the programs committee, that's something that we brought into it. They're programs not by Patty, or they're commission programs. These people go out and find talent, and we have a program probably once every month. And it's turned out to be a huge success for the seniors. They love it. I'll get more into that. Next slide. Some of the things that we have, Mike keeps us in line with these, all the reports you're seeing in there. He's created and made it happen. But it shows you some of the things. Now, these items on this list are what we finance. Most of the items that Patty has during the day, we don't pay for, we don't finance in there, but she has special programs that we do, and we're a part of that. And this kind of itemizes everything that we have in this and the proper order, so we can see when they're coming. Patty has things like summer barbecue, roaring 20s dance, Veterans Day breakfast, stuff that they do and the seniors like it. We have in the programs in there stuff like music, California Dreamin', what else we got up there? The British band beat or British beat band, Elton John, various people come in there to this show, and that's highly successful. Okay. This, believe it or not, is the Oktoberfest, one of Patty's programs. We go to these, we help out. We take pictures for the people, give it to them when they're there. Next one. When Patty has an event, most likely you're going to see music, live music. When there's music, these people are going to dance, and they have a great time. They love it. They're out there doing their thing. Next. When they're there, they have food. This is only a small picture. Usually it's a huge banquet of what they eat out of. Next one. And we have our seniors. We help serve food. We help decorate. We help probably preparing food. We're there to help out. Whatever Patty wants us to do, we're there. Next. Bingo. That's what happens. You can see the expression on that lady's face. Bingo does much more than just provide money. We have it at least 3 times a week, sometimes 4, and it gives these seniors a place to go, gets them out of the house, gets them out of that old routine. And they can't wait to get to these meetings 3 times a week, which is good, a couple hours out of that. And they get to meet old friends, make new friends, have coffee, have tea, whatever, but they thoroughly enjoy it. You can see it on their faces. Next. We also have some history programs. This is what we go out and do. And their stage production. We go all out when we do them in there. The next one. Some of those, McCrae, you might know, talk about the Conejo and things that happen, women's rights, whatever you want to talk, but we have the history of going with the whole way. Okay. And of course, probably the most famous is music. We used to call it Music Comes Alive, but the music programs. Our program committee goes out and finds this talent. We pay for that talent, and the talent is exceptional. Believe me, they love it. And it's a packed house, almost always a packed house. You can see how they enjoy it in there. Could I have the next one, please? There's some of the talent. Go ahead. And you see the enthusiasm of the crowd. One more. These people are really into the music. It's music about their past, their history, things that they used to live, and they dream it. They're with it. They're a part of it. it's not uncommon for a Congo line to develop going up and down the aisles. They're in there the whole time. Also, those that can't get into the Congo, because some people can't walk to get into the Congo line, they have a walker, they'll pull themselves up, and we see it time and again, and they start moving to the music. They're waving. They love it, and you can see the expression on their face. It's magical. It really is. What we have too is a lot of seniors can't drive, so they have somebody from their family usually to bring them in, stay there, and take them back. Quite often that somebody ends up being a grandchild. You can always tell the first time the grandchild comes to the meeting, comes to the performance. When they go in there and they sit down, the grandparent sits down there and into the music, when no music playing, and they're already in there. The grandchild is sitting there kind of, I got 2 hours here, what am I gonna do? And he's thinking, who is Humperdinck? Who is the Eagles? Who is Peter, Paul, and Mary? They don't know. The music starts. The grandparent starts right away into it, do it. The grandchild is sitting there, the hands come down. By the end of the first song, he's kind of keeping in time with the music. By the end of the night, the grandparent's standing, waving, clapping. Right next to her, guess what? Grandson's right next to her, clapping, yelling, and screaming too. This does more than provide us something for the seniors because it brings the whole family. You can just see when they walk out the door, you just know it's happening. The grandson bends over and says, when's the next performance? Do you need a ride? They want to be there. It's a part of it. They create something for that family that we really didn't think about, but they take this home. They have something in common now they can share. And that's a good experience for them. Next one. I can't say enough about the music program in there and what we do and what we provide. But I do want to say, and this just kind of shows you what we're about and why we are where we are and why we stay doing what we do. But I want to say because of you, this board, because of Patty, because of Mike, because of everything the Global Center does for us, it provides me something I'm going to have the rest of my life, the rest of the commissioners the same way. And because of what you've all done, I'd like to say, next slide. Thank you. Thank you much. That's it.
Thank you very much, Steve. I don't think I've met you before. Maybe I have, but I've met Julie and Patty. So it's nice to know that other third part in that trio at the Global Center. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Director Lang.
Yes. First of all, a big thank you for the update that you provide every so often in our board packet, a summary of the activities, et cetera, your budget, your spending and so forth. And that is important to us as we, have responsibility and so forth. So we appreciate that. I have a question on the commissioners. How long has the longest commissioner served currently?
The current one?
Yeah, on the current commission, how long is 12 years?
When I came on board, that was 12 years. I think Sandy was getting out of high school about that. Yeah, I think I'm the longest. The next one, about a year or two after.
Okay,
It's probably due for change.
well, as long as they're contributing and, everybody gets along and it's a good team, that's,
Good condition.
yeah, good.
You guys-
So,
you guys are good.
thank you very
Steve-
much.
Steve, would you like to step up to the mic just so we're sure that we can be heard? You can be heard if you have a comment. Thank you.
I'll tell you something, I'm old. I have a hearing aid in one ear and ear replacement in the other. And so I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, would you please step back up to the mic? So thank you, so that we can be sure that you can be heard,
Okay,
because it's a public meeting. Thank you.
thank you.
No, stay there.
Stay at the mic. Stay at the
We're going to
mic.
have more comments or questions.
Yeah, so that you can
Somebody
answer the
talk.
questions.
I need help.
Okay, thank you so much. Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Steve, for the presentation. Appreciate that. You know, I've heard it said from others, and I would wholeheartedly agree that you cannot have a healthy community without engaged and active, seasoned citizens. And I'm part of that group, so I'm not going to task that anybody else. Because it, you know, it maintains the history, maintains the institution of your community, of the legacy that's there. And without that active group, the generations behind us are clueless as to what was before them. And while the grandchildren may be few and far between, at least they're realizing what that legacy is bit by bit, and that will spread. I appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to say is, you know, as we get the opportunity to hear from the different groups that we partner with in our community, and they all have a various roles, each and every one of them. What I've always appreciated about the Global Center group is it's just like runs like a well-oiled machine. And
She and Tim.
I
And
don't know if there's whips behind that or what, but it just runs well. You know, we get good information and there's always something happening. I mean, it's just like a
Always.
nonstop activity center over there. One of the busiest places in the community. And just, you know, my congratulations to you. You know, and I know, you know, Patty and the whole CRPT staff team is part of that, but without the commission and the active folks there, I mean, it wouldn't happen. I mean, $200,000 in bingo. I mean, I'm not going to get between a bingo player and a bingo card with that much money. Just, you know, and good for you to be able to pull that in and then use it wisely. I mean, it's a thrill to be able to, you know, I say take credit for it, but what am I doing? Is you're doing all the work. So thank you for engaging, you know, actively and providing obviously programs that the seasoned citizens want to participate in. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Yeah, Steve, I just wanted to add my thanks for what you and all the commissioners do and all of the other volunteers. I suspect there are at least some people who figure you probably get paid a massive salary for taking charge of this program and raising the $200,000 through bingo. But the Global Commission is one of many examples in our community of how important volunteerism, whether it's, you know, from teenagers through seniors and everything in between, and all of the programs and activities that the commission sponsors and helps out with are just absolutely spectacular. I was wondering, you mentioned the bingo. Has your attendance pretty much recovered to pre-COVID numbers at this point, or?
The only hesitation and saying full is we spread them out more now because of that attendance. But they're every seat is taken. They're there. They love it. I absolutely love it. So it's there as much as they can get in.
Yeah,
They're there early, an hour early trying to get in.
good. And the other question I had was, I know in the past, again, pre-COVID, you used to have a number of bus trips that you would take seniors on to various sporting events and cultural events and things like that. Have any of those been revived at this point, or is that still on hold?
You may have to.
Yeah, it's still, we started that. And as a matter of fact, we have a group of seniors coming back from Laughlin tonight at some point from their trip that they left on Monday.
Oh, is that the group I saw over there I was wondering who all these people with suitcases were getting on the bus over there. So
Probably it was them on Monday. Yeah, we have fewer bus trips, but we're just starting slowly to get back and offer them. And they're taking them, they're filling up.
good. Thank you. And Steve, again, thank you
Thank you.
for you and the entire commission.
Thank you.
Director Holt?
Well, I went to the Wellness Fest, which was wonderful. and people had a really, really good time. And I guess I was speaking to one of the gals and she said, it's not as big as usual because it was held outside, but it seemed pretty big to me. There were a lot of people. I missed your dance.
Everybody.
Patty's dance. But it was really very, very special. And I thought I did have some information that I can stick in the library here about who all the vendors were. But it was a great event, as are all the events there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, I'd like to say, I'm so glad to meet you. I love the commission. I'm over there all the time. And contrary to what people might think, is they're not really old people over there. Like, they're my age. They're all really young. And and they're really fun. And in regards to the grandkids coming, before I was even old enough to be at the Global Center, my daughter, who was working at Barnes and Noble, was working with somebody who was a senior and was going on a bus trip to the Phantom of the Opera. This was a long time. So my daughter went. She said, yeah, I went and got on the bus with everybody. She goes, it was so much fun. I had a great time. She was about 17 years old at the time. And I mean, now she's 40. So it was a long time ago. But it just shows how long this has been going on and how long you've been doing this. Like I said, I love all the music. I love the lectures. I like to go dance there. It's a great program. So, and it couldn't all happen without the commission. And I'm really glad to have met you because I knew Cynthia Bankston really well, but I haven't met all the commissioners and didn't really understand how exactly you were fitting in. I enjoyed your little flow chart. Thank you. That was very informative. So thank you again for all the work that you're doing and bringing to the community and enriching our community with all of these volunteers and bringing all these amazing programs. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe we have 2 items from the public. Mark Jones.
Good evening, CRPD board members and Mr. Friedel. It's a pleasure to see all you folks again. Saw it a couple weeks ago. My name is Mark Jones for the record, and I live in Newberry Park. I'm the vice president of the Estancia of Arizona HOA, which is across the street from the Rancho Potrero Equestrian Center. My board has designated me to be the lead board member regarding the arena lighting project or topic. After the meeting several weeks ago, I was pleased to hear after our community presentation at the last CRPD board meeting that the proposal regarding the 50-foot LED arena lights at the west arena of the Rancho Potrero Equestrian Center will be reevaluated. Additionally, I was very pleased to hear from Mr. Nichols that any arena lighting project will come before the board first, before any proceeding to the potential consideration by the city. This evening, I'd like to discuss a very significant topic that concerns all of my 186 homes. Namely, the fact that your staff's initial proposal has now created a real estate disclosure issue. These homes represent approximately $400 million in value, and using a 1.1% property tax, our homes provide approximately $4 million a year that support our local government. I'd like to take the opportunity to read a letter from Mr. Thomas McQueen, who is one of our major realtors and brokers in Dos Vientos, and a copy of which has been submitted in your packet. And I quote, Mark Jones, as a property owner and real estate broker, I strongly oppose the CRPD proposal to install 50-foot LED lights at the western arena of the Rancho Potrero Equestrian Center. Over the past 15 years, no brokerage has sold more homes in Dos Vientos than ours. So we pride ourselves as being resident experts. We saw an adverse effect on property values when the Del Prado playfields installed massive lighting poles. The views were negatively obstructed at many homes in the Villa Serrano and Lucera tracks, and we've seen those home values drop by 10 to 15%, or have had trouble selling because of the lights. I would expect the same situation or same problem in this situation as the values have gone up so could the property depreciation in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. A 15% drop in valuations would be very realistic. I bought my home expressly for the view and the lack of light pollution in the night sky. It would be a shame to negatively affect so many homeowners. Sincerely, Thomas McQueen, end quotes. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, we now have a serious problem as far as a real estate disclosure for our 186 homes. If they want to sell their home or refinance. Our HOA board insists that the CRPD take two immediate actions. First, the Rancho Potrero Equestrian Center arena lighting project on the CRPD's website should be removed until there's a legal agreed upon lighting proposal for the community to consider. The website currently states the 50-foot LED project for the West Arena is the recommended proposal. At this time, we feel that it's just one of several possible options that will be evaluated and is not the recommended proposal of the CRPD board, which was documented by your statements at the January 6, 22 board meeting. If the lighting proposal does become your recommended option, it'll definitely be appealed and potentially litigated. Second, our HOA requests that the CRPD board issue a statement to our HOA or to the public that the arena lights will not be considered for arenas that are directly adjacent to Lynn Road. It would appear this second request will probably require board approval. We respectfully request that this item be added to the CRPD board's next meeting agenda for consideration and resolution. Thank you very much for providing this time for me.
Thank you. We also have Mr. Dave. I don't want to pronounce your last name incorrectly.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, CRPD board members and staff. My name is Dave Hetwer, and I'm from Newbury Park. And I'm on the board of the Haciendas HOA, which is also near the Rancho Potrero Equestrian Center. I submitted a written statement, and I'll just discuss the highlights in the allowed 3 minutes and not go 9 minutes like 2 weeks ago. So thank you for that extra time a couple of weeks ago. At the last CRPD board meeting, it was mentioned that additional arena lighting options will be evaluated. And the first step will be for the ad hoc equestrian center committee, which is Mr. Nichols and Mr. Lang, to meet with CRPD staff. And Mr. Nichols also stated any arena lighting proposal will first come to the board, and that was very encouraging news to us. I'm here today to make one request, that some sort of small focus group be formed to meet and discuss various lighting options, maybe with a goal to see if a consensus Plan B option can be developed within 2 or 3 months. For example, one idea is having 2 full-sized 20,000 square foot arenas set back from Lynn Road, 200 to 300 feet, that are lit, and maybe one could even be covered. That would be an excellent way to minimize the impact of light to the homes and to the wildlife. That would also enable children to have lessons when it rains and have shade when it's really hot in the summer. From our experiences with our equestrian daughters, Mark Jones and I know that having a covered arena is a really great feature. Perhaps this small focus group could consist of just 6 to 8 people. For example, Mark Jones and I as the nearby HOA reps, Mr. Nichols and or Mr. Lang from the Ad Hoc Equestrian Center Committee, Tom Hare or Andrew Mooney from the CRPD staff, someone from Ride On, obviously, and maybe Greg Gomez, who is the city planner assigned to the project currently. We feel this type of small focus group should have been formed in 2020 or early 2021 when the 5-year plan for the equestrian center was being developed. That effort included determining how to spend $2.3 million on the equestrian center, including $160,000 for arena lighting. And a 2025 map was developed of the equestrian center showing approximate doubling of the number of stalls, which is a major expansion. Unfortunately, nobody in the community was able to be part of that effort. And there's now some anger and surprise with certain aspects of that 5-year plan and a loss of trust that I think needs to be restored. As I mentioned in my written statement, there are many prior situations where there was a focus group early in the process. That includes the current Borchard Skate Park project, which has a focus group, the 2018 Banyan Park expansion project, even the dog park many years ago had a focus group. So we don't understand why the Dos Vientos community wasn't treated in the same way. We are taxpayers, as Mark indicated, and voters, just like everyone else in the community. So I think the board should insist on a focus group for all major projects, including this one and those going forward. The Estancia, Virazan, and Haciendas HOAs have asked multiple times for a focus group type meeting since November, when we first learned about the project. We got friendly email replies, which we appreciated, but there was no response about our requests for meetings. So we're here today asking again. To conclude, I'm asking that the formation of a small focus group be added to the agenda for the next meeting so the board can discuss and vote on that. Or perhaps that doesn't rise to the level of the board, and Mr. Friedel or Mr. Hare can make that decision. And if that's the case, we request being informed of that decision at the next board meeting. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And please know that both members of our ad hoc committee are here, and as are Mr. Friedel and Mr. Hare. So we have heard what you have said, and they will be discussing it, as we do have an ad hoc committee for that. So thank you very much, and please know that we have heard you, and we appreciate your comments very much.
Thank you.
Jim?
And yes, Mr. Friedel.
Let me actually offer one other. This came in on the chat from chat, so somebody is on Zoom watching, and I consider this a third public comment. So Robin Cessna wrote, "Why do all the youth classes continue to get canceled right before they start?" And I just got someone saying, "Turn the mic on." So Robin Cessna wrote, "Why do all the youth classes continue to get canceled right before they start? Question mark, question mark. And then why are there not more classes offered at the Teen Center for Teenage Boys that are not only sports?" So I guess to the extent, Robin, you're watching or listening to the meeting, on both those questions, if you would want to simply email us at parks@crpd.org, which is our generic email address, we'll get an answer for you. And you're also welcome to call us at 805-495-6471, and we can certainly talk about that. So, and Tim Doerr is here. He heard those questions. So you might ask for Tim Doerr if you call in. So that's for Robin. And then I just might reiterate, as the chair mentioned, this is obviously public comment, and we hear you. And the ad hoc committee is meeting. They had questions of staff. We have questions to answer, and I am sure before you guys are going to hear about it. We know you're here. We know you're very interested. You're the HOA rep, so you're going to know what we're doing. There won't be surprises. So.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We'd like to move on then to item 5, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Director Holt has a motion. Do we have a second? Director Huffer?
I move approval of the agenda.
I'll
Okay.
second.
You'll second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar? Director Holt?
I move approval of the consent calendar 6A and 6B.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Nichols. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Do we have any deferred matters? I don't think so. Items for discussion. We'll move on to new items.
Yeah, I don't.
Adopt the 9A, adopt the resolution determining the need for more than 5 meetings per month. I thought we had talked about this.
Yeah, may I ask a
previously.
question about that? We
Um,
switched to 6 months. How long ago?
Yeah, I thought that was already resolved, but we'll leave this to, is this Director?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Chair Cusworth, members of the board. And also, before I actually start on this, we do have an unusual circumstance where an item came up, that didn't allow us to put it on as a regular agenda item. So you were sent a special meeting notice yesterday. So we do have a special meeting that is scheduled to start at 7:30. And if we finish the regular meeting just before 7:30, we can then adjourn and go right into the special meeting. If we are still going on with our regular meeting, we'll just at 7:30 note that the special meeting will be delayed until, immediately following the regular meeting. And just, I want to point that out, just so everyone's aware.
Well, is that, are you focusing on this 9A item?
I'm about to.
Oh, okay. I didn't, for this special meeting.
No, I was just mentioning that we do have the 2 meetings noticed, and it's just unusual. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was
Get it
aware of
on the
that.
record.
Yeah, get it on the record. So as I go into this particular item, adopt the resolution determining the need for more than 5 meetings per month. If you recall, at one time, the board was only eligible to receive $100 per meeting up to 5 meetings per month. The law changed and it said if and only if every single year you adopt a resolution determining a need for 6 meetings or more than 5, you may get up to $600 a month. You can claim 6 meetings a month. And it has been staff's contention that given the nature of a very large and busy recreation and park district, that a meeting includes not only board meetings, not only your committee meetings, not only the meetings of other government agencies and organizations that you're a part of, but it also includes attending all of the various special events that we have, auditing a class or checking out the recreation programs that we do have, meeting individually with staff and staff administrators. So there's a whole host of things in our definition of a meeting that are eligible for compensation. So this board, in order to be able to note more than 5 meetings a month, to have up to 6 meetings a month, state law was changed about 4 or 5 years ago. And so now if we adopt this resolution every year, we are able to claim 6 meetings a month. So that's why you're seeing this. Like, didn't we do this? Yeah,
We
we've
did
done this.
a long time ago.
Well, we do this once a year now. This is every year
I
we got to
didn't
do
realize
this. Yeah. So this is the same resolution as last year, essentially. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions? Director Holt?
Hi, well, in signing some of these things that I've just started, doing, it's kind of interesting because when I was involved with different organizations, that's what I would put down if I had a meeting or something, with that organization. But I'm just wondering, just to go to a museum, just to visit it. I mean, is that counted as part of a meeting? I think more of meetings rather than just visiting McCray Ranch or visiting,
So I would say this to each board member, that it is all, obviously within some level of discretion. If you are being a patron and simply going and enjoying it as a patron would, then no, you're not doing your official board duties. But if you are there because I want to see how this program's running, I want to be able to understand and react to staff when they tell me this is what's going on with this kind of program or this kind of event or this facility. So there is some discretion, of course, in that.
Yeah.
But by practice, the board has, you guys all sign the sheets of all the different meetings you attend. Those kinds of things have been compensable in the past under our meeting definition.
Okay, I just, meeting means something other than just going to an event. That's something that
Correct.
has nothing to do with any recognition of us as a board member. I mean, there are certain things at McCray Ranch that the board members are there and are recognized, and it's, you know, a different situation than just going to watch a movie there. And
Those are two different things.
yeah.
And we do, I don't have it in front of me, or you don't have it in front of you. We have a definition of meeting, and it's a very expansive definition. It's broad, it's inclusive of a lot of different things.
I just
Director
wanted to mention that.
Director Lang.
Yes, I go by the guidance that our previous general manager, Tex Ward, provided me, and he said, is this an event that you would go to if you were not on the board of directors? You have some kind of extra interest because you are on the board. If you were not an elected official on the board, would you be attending Touch a Truck or whatever? So that's the guidance that I use when I record my meetings.
Director Nichols.
Yeah, same with me. If my grandkids are with me, I'm not writing it down. It's just, I'm there for the fun. Just this is more of a technical question because the cover memo refers to annually adopting a written policy, and we're passing a resolution. Just out of curiosity, when something like this is documented in the official annals of the Park District records of activities, is this set aside in a policy manual, or is this just listed in recommendations? I mean, I doubt there's going to be somebody chasing this down to see where we're holding it, but is there any technical difference between, you know, adopting a policy and passing a resolution?
I have to second that because I don't remember that we voted on this every year.
I do remember voting on it before. Yeah.
We did?
Yeah. we
But
have.
I don't know if that's a technicality that's, you know, that would need to document one way or the other, or if it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't make that much of a difference. By resolution, you can adopt a policy.
Correct.
And a resolution in and of itself could either be a policy or it could just be stand for a position of the board.
Mhm.
So it's, you know, a little bit semantic, but I'm comfortable that this resolution does what the state law needs it to do, which is have the findings laid out for what reasons do we have to have a need for more than 5 board meetings a month. And that's for the point of the resolution. And it should track with, I think this might be our 4th year of doing this, I think,
Mhm.
because the
Been a
state law is
while.
about 5 years
Yeah.
old. So I think this is
Right.
our 4th year of doing it.
I would, I mean, I'm just kind of surmising here. I would presume if we had an official policy manual and this was a line item within our policy manual, that we could reference it. So
Correct.
yes, we are readopting our policy manual, and that's line item number 126A or whatever it happens to be.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
you're
right.
good at, yeah, another good reason to have a policy manual.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Mr. Director
have to read it.
Huffer?
I'd like to move adoption of resolution 012-022-A, adopting findings and determining a need for more than 5 meetings per month to be read in title only, all future readings to be waived.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And can that be read?
Resolution 012022-A. A resolution of the Board of Directors of the Community Recreation and Park District adopting findings and determining for more than 5 meetings per month.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution.
Move on to item 9B. And this is authorize the general manager to allocate open house meeting grants for the nonprofit community members. Mr. Hare, Mr. Friedel.
Director Cussworth, Chair Cussworth, I'll take this. The staff has been sort of like, you know, the district, like the whole rest of the world, has been obviously affected by COVID over the past couple of years, but our business, what we do is largely to encourage gathering and participating and being involved in community and showing up at at the many public facilities that we have. And we have certainly struggled, and we know that our nonprofit partners, and we have our little brochure here of a sample of many of them. But they're the things that people are hopefully very familiar with in the community, but we know a lot of people aren't familiar with them, like the Stagecoach Inn or Chumash Museum or Botanic Garden or, even ETI or Ride On or McRae. A variety of our nonprofit partners do normally in non-COVID times, all sorts of different community events and open houses, many of which have been canceled, affected detrimentally over the past couple of years. And staff had kind of been kicking around ideas on how do we help them come out and be more present as this hopefully Omicron surge wanes and we move throughout the coming months and half a year or so. How do we get those community groups kind of coming out and being very visible in the community and encouraging people to gather and let them know they're open for business and they're here for the public. And we thought this might be a nice incentive for them to say, you know what, let's let everyone know we're here. Let's do some paid social media broadcast or put an ad in the paper or whatnot, and then host an open house and have people show up. Or even if it's their existing event, it just gives them a little extra resources to make their event that much more attractive to the public. So years and years ago now, Mr. Hare established of course the board established it, but Mr. Hare brought the idea of the sports facilities grants to us. And it's kind of modeled after that. We'd let everybody know that if they are doing events on our property and they're one of our existing partners, that they could apply for one of these. So not quite, I hadn't gone to community partners before talking to the board. You're hearing it before. I don't know if folks will say, yeah, we're not ready to do anything yet, but it's an incentive. It's out there. And of course, I'm available for any questions or suggestions because we're kind of putting the program together, just the beginnings of it. So.
Director Nichols.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. I think this is a great idea. I think it's an excellent opportunity to get this information out, especially since some of these entities are kind of hidden inside their local group and participants and the community as a whole doesn't always necessarily know about them. And from reading this, I understand that this open house concept is a staff term just used to kind of generally cover whatever form that the various community partners may choose to use to take advantage of this, which is understandable. I think that's a great option. One thing I would like to suggest, and this kind of goes along with our presentation that we had with the commission this evening, is if we could perhaps as a board be notified of when the various community partner organizations meet, that whether it's their boards, their commissions, whatever, just so we could be aware of that. And if this is part of it, where we could maybe step in and say, hey, I'll be there to help out with this, if you need some representation or just to show up. I think that'd be helpful, and to kind of give them a little boost that way as well. So we can maybe get that information, not necessarily just for the open house, but even the regular monthly, quarterly meetings, whatever they have, if they always meet on the third Wednesday, whatever it is, just so we can put that in our calendars if we want to, poke our head in and say hello.
Anyone else? Director Huffer?
Hopefully this current COVID surge is short-term rather than going to be going on forever, which is beginning to seem like, but is this going to be, does it have to be an open house? I mean, I love the idea of helping local nonprofits get word back out to the community, because they've disappeared for a year or 2.5 years. And I think the idea of helping them do that is terrific. But if some group wanted to get word out, but I know several organizations that basically have gone back to doing everything remotely via Zoom. And so long as they are operating via Zoom, they can't have a public in-person open house. So if it was possible to use up to $3,000 for marketing purposes, either in person or just for getting the word out about the organization, I would kind of lean that way. As I said, I like the idea of helping our partners get the word out, but short term, doing it publicly might not be the ideal method of doing it.
Yeah, if I might respond, I think our intent was more of the in-person because I think a lot of us have grown weary of Zoom, but I also have this vision, and I can't read the future. I don't know like anyone, anyone else. I just have this vision of Omicron waning, as we move into the spring, and I don't think we wouldn't even be able to get the word out and encourage people to do anything until probably late March, April at the earliest anyway. But again, I'm sort of, because right now they actually shrunk, I think, the number of what's considered a mega event down to 500 people or something. So yeah, it's going the other way, or it has of the last couple weeks. So I know that, but the vision was that Omicron will wane. I'm kind of looking at England, the UK. And
Talk about the government there, where they're holding all the parties, even though everything else is
no,
closed
not
down,
that part of it, but they have done sort of a very steep up and down, and they're moving through and beyond sort of the worst of their Omicron. It seems to be a shorter spike, not a longer kind of a curve, more of a spike. And if that is the case, and public health orders sort of shrink back in as the cases seriously wane, then I would hope this spring and summer look a lot better than this last couple months.
well, I would share your hope. I'm a little hesitant to restrict it to just in-person gatherings. If Zeta comes along or something else comes along,
Yeah,
we
sure.
we don't know.
Sure.
And I know, just as an example, our local Kiwanis Club has gone totally virtual again for the next 3 weeks, just because things have gotten so bad. Hopefully we'll be able to go back to in-person. But I know a lot of other organizations, AYSO is holding all of their meetings virtually now. They used to,
Right.
a month ago, we were doing them in person again. So I don't want to tie our hands if things go south again.
Director Holt?
Hi, I'm interested in knowing, you're talking only about CRPD's nonprofit partner organizations. I will vote for the recommendation, but I'd like to know I'm involved in different groups, but they're not partners with CRPD, so I'm not sure where the lines are and who we're talking about here.
Yeah, so we have a list of 10 as an example that are in our brochure. This brochure we've had for a while. These are the type of agencies that have an actual facility. They have a facility, or they're physically doing things on our property. So the idea is to get people back out and actually doing things with and on CRPD's parks.
Is what we're talking about.
But someone could make a case that a Kiwanis or a Rotary would qualify, as both have done significant volunteer and fundraising,
There are
efforts
others.
on CRPD property for CRPD activities. So
So these are the groups you're talking.
yeah, primarily,
All right.
sure. But,
So,
I
okay,
think some of
familiar
this,
with these
sure.
I didn't know whether you were going to go beyond this to other nonprofits, in the community, but I guess these are enough.
Those are the biggies, but we might have big sports organizations that are able to do some sort of a big event to get people, hey, get your kids signed up for sports again. I mean, we know people are struggling to bring people back to some of this stuff.
But my understanding, at least at the very least, there's big organizations that are somehow interfacing with the park district, using our facilities, something like that. I mean, there are a lot of great nonprofits out
Yeah.
there, say the cancer support community, but we don't have a relationship with them, the CRPD. So
Correct.
they're a great organization, but
And being, for like, we're selfish, like when we're modeling it after the CIP grant program,
right.
definitely, like the CIP grant program says, it has to be on CRPD property. Because in a sense, it benefits them and us and the patrons of, so it's a similar situation, like I think Jim was mentioning Kiwanis and Rotary. If there's something that could benefit us because it's being done on our property or whatever, promotes CRPD also, there's got to be some sort of tangible or intangible or indirect benefit to the district to justify us providing these grants.
Right. Thank you.
Director Lang.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment, Mr. Hare. I think it makes sense and it's an important element of CRPD, having these partners, these community partners, because as we heard from the commission, they talked about CRPD and so forth, and they understand the importance of CRPD and what we do in contributing to that group and so forth. My question is, and I may have missed this, Jim, has there been any discussion with any of the 5 groups about this program? I mean, just kind of, we're thinking about this. What do you think? That
When
maybe-
you say the 5 groups,
Or
the
community-
different, no, I haven't. No, I wanted to bring it to your attention first and then, kind of say, hey, the board's.
Assuming that,
Yeah, from my experiences with the CIP grant, I mean, we give out 9 or 10 grants to various organizations. I could see that expanding, to those same organizations that we do, plus more. I could see it being very favorably received from our partners out there.
okay, so I was just curious if there's been any preliminary discussion, or this would be great to have this and that's everything. I can assume it would be.
Yeah, and again, I look at it as, it's a carrot, it's available, it's sitting on the table for them to come and look and try to take it if they want it, but it's not a thing anyone's got to do. They don't want to do it.
I was confused because of 20 grants.
Yeah, well, the request is for up to 20, no more than 3,000 per, so a maximum of 60,000. I can quickly see those 9, but then, I think you could make the case that a Rotary Club that does the chili cook-off and then turns around and gives us $100,000 for the Dreamcatcher playground, maybe we should let them and, have access, or a Kiwanis or something like that. So, yeah, it's a little fuzzy, but
I think it's a good idea. My question was, are people going to apply? Are you going to just give the money to the partners, or do they apply for the grant and they have specific qualifications of how the money is going to be used and what events they're going to be publicizing? Is it solely for marketing, or is it like to beef up websites for the entire year, or is this something that's just in the planning stages?
it's kind of in the planning stages. I mean, we do have some, kind of internal working on what an application and what the letter inviting them to apply would look like, but it is built on physically doing something. So it is not really, hey, I'm just going to do a $3,000 website and let everyone know we're here that way. It's really to kind of encourage physical community again. It's kind of a, what everyone thought was going to happen after the first wave, we're going to have a COVID, we're done with party. And then after the second year, we're going to have a COVID, we're done party, or whatever, the roaring 20s after the Spanish flu. It's again, it's the idea that the Omicron wave will crest and it will go back down. There might be another variant past that, but at some point, at least if the past 4 waves, we would be able to say, okay, the restrictions have come way down, the crowd sizes could get much bigger. Right now we're allowed to be outside without a mask or gather without a mask, but the size of the gatherings will go back up if the virus spread goes down. So my thought is, this would be a way to encourage people to try to like get people to remember what they did with CRPD and the kind of community events that people do and all the different nonprofits, organizations, and services that we do things with that are out there in the community. This is probably the March to September time period, like which is frankly the normal time period when everybody does stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of the normal
Yeah.
window.
Well, and we would have to, we've already thought, we've learned a lot from the grant, CIP grant program. That's whatever, 12 or 13 years into it. The criteria that would be established, because trying to be very clear to the applicants, because this is not our $75,000 grant and they're pouring their heart and soul into the application and making sure everything's right. And we're trying to pare it down, make it quicker and easier, but model it after the grant program. Here's the criteria. Here's your questions. And then even like the most importantly too, is like Jim saying with the time frame, like with CIP one, we say, hey, there's lots of planning going involved. So everything's due May 1st. This one, we're like considering a rolling application, because if your event's not till September and we announce this and then you're going, well, I don't even know what we want to do. I don't know what's going to look like then. So you can, as long as funding is available when you submit your application, and we'll review it and approve it or ask questions like that within a week. We'll say, hey, go ahead. Sounds good to me. Here's the agreement. Go ahead and do it and go for it. So, and then I think we put, it's got to be at least a month ahead of your event. So it's not the day before, but very similar to the CIP grant program with just modifications to make it simpler and easier for the applicants.
And so would this be going for generally one event of a big open house, or if maybe they wanted to have a few and this would go for advertising and expenses for the event? Is that what we're looking at?
We're pretty, it's very flexible, just like this,
Okay.
very
Right. I mean,
flexible.
we debated, should be a $2,000 really, mini grant, 3,000, but one full page ad in Acorn's $1,000.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So
Sometimes
the money
advertising is
doesn't
pretty
go
high.
that far,
No, no,
3,000
not at
sounds
all.
like a bunch of money, but if you do 3 or 4 banners and a ad in the Acorn, at that point,
You're done.
you're done,
Yeah. Okay, so that gives me a good idea. You're looking at basically marketing and advertising an event or two, something like that.
Yeah. The idea is that there'll be volunteers connected to the organization that are back
Sure.
out doing their thing, and then the public comes, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Great. Director Huffer.
Yeah, and just incidentally, although we wouldn't be there in person, and, the organization might just mention to all their various members, hey, Park District, help us do this. Never hurts to get our name out there.
That might be part of the
We're allowed to be there
criteria,
if we
that there
want.
be
Yeah,
the
we're allowed to be there if we
sponsorship
want.
recognition. Yeah.
Free lunch.
Yes, yeah, for the food, like Doug said.
Any other comments? Okay, do I have a motion to authorize the general manager to allocate this? Director Lang
Yes, I move staff recommendation.
I'll second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion carried. 9D, budget adjustment.
C.
C. Amendments to contracts. I'm sorry, Mr. Hare.
Sure. Thanks, Chair Custer, members of the board. About a year ago, we awarded 2 contracts, one to West Coast Arborists, another one to Treescapes for various tree maintenance services throughout the parks. This came after our longstanding relationship we had with Dave Border when he retired. We used a lot of different vendors. The board waived the formal bidding process or request for proposal process, excuse me. And then so we decided to go with these 2 because they're demonstrated competence and quality of work and their professional certifications, experience, response time, et cetera. We've now had a very successful relationship with these 2 vendors for the past year. As of January 13th, and they both were not to exceed $175,000. As of January 13th, we had spent $56,000 with West Coast Arborists and $73,000 with Treescapes. They continue to do a really good job, and we'd like to extend this for another year from March 1st, 2022 to February 28th, 2023. And during that time, and this is not exclusive, these are non-exclusive contracts. So if there's another vendor out there who we want to give them a try, we'll give them a try, and then we'll visit this on an annual basis to see if we're adding, subtracting, or what we're doing for tree maintenance services throughout the, in the future. Available for questions.
Any questions, Mr. Nichols?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. One question, in using these two companies, have you found that they typically will give you an estimate on the same projects, or that one or the other firm tends to favor a certain type of project over
Yeah.
another?
Of course, I remember now, I forget. One of them is a bit better heavy work company, and the other one's a better maintenance, doing hey, I need you for 6 days to do all this. And then the other company's better at, now they can do, that's our opinion. And so we generally use the one for the, okay, you need to remove these 2 trees and do this. It's a very specific scope of work. And the other one is, we need to go in the park and do all these trees. So.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Director Huffer.
If heaven forbid we were to have another huge windstorm like we had 2 or 3 years ago, where massive trees were knocked down all over the city, I'm assuming that we probably would very quickly go over $175,000, but this wouldn't preclude continuing to use these companies, or would you have to do something to spend more than that?
If we did more than 100, I would bring that to the board. And if it was, but under our emergency purchasing procedures, the general manager or his designee is authorized to, in those sort of situations, hey guys, you need to go out and do this. And let's say it puts them over the top to $225,000 because it's $80,000 worth of work. And then our policy says at the next available board meeting, take that action for approval to the full board.
Okay, that'd be similar to several years ago when I think it was the water heater or something at
Yeah.
the TO Center went out and
Yeah.
had to get it done immediately.
Right. Our
So-
policy doesn't hamstring us in emergency situations.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Do I have a motion for this recommendation? Anyone? Director Huffer, the second,
Second.
all approved?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
We'll go to Mr. Smith with item 9B.
Thank you, Chair Cuthworth and directors. I'm aware of the 7:30 closed session, so I'll try to keep this brief. So I wanted to just recap briefly how we addressed our budget for this year regarding the Recreation Work Center. So you'll remember when COVID first came about, we cut back both the revenues and expenses from most of the recreation work centers, just anticipating because of the restrictions. And at that time, we cut them way, way back. They were awesome and outperformed. And so coming into this year's budget, we bumped them up from that year, but did not put them at that pre-COVID level yet, assuming there'd be some, we weren't sure what the restrictions might be, or if the community might be hesitant to return to these programs. But the demand has been amazing and everybody wants to come back. And so, and I want to credit some of our marketing and recreation and Melissa and Rochelle and Tim on their efforts for that. So they're coming back. We're making more money. We can offer more programs and we need the staff to do it. So we're requesting adjustments to the revenue and the expense size to allow them to hire the instructors and part-time staff to staff the programming. And so that's basically the summary. It's a good problem to have. So we're making more money and we want to be able to spend more to provide those services. The work centers that we identified in the mid-year review were Borchard, Caneo Community, Sports, Teen Center, Dos Vianos, and Thousand Oaks Community. So they're the ones that are doing really good. And we think need to invest more in the staff for that. And the very last page is page 70 of your packet. It's just an analysis of the very first day of the winter registration where, and I don't know if you got a chance to dig into the numbers like I would, but you'll see that the total amount, both in dollars and enrollments, is well above even the pre-COVID levels. And that's just on the first day of registration and not impacting the numbers that were in the rest of your staff report. So we're anticipating that these projections are going to be met and probably exceeded. So we feel confident bringing it to you. And I'm available for questions and I'm going to volunteer Tim too. So
Any questions? Yes.
Well, let me, since you mentioned, let me start with page 70. I was trying to compare the numbers, the total of 258, 360, 258, 369 matched on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. But I guess there must be a difference between a work center and a unit. Because I mean, I look at sports and the numbers are different. I look at BOC and the numbers are different, but the totals are the same.
So the elementary music program was new.
Well, you looked at, I guess I was looking particularly at sports. The third item under work center, it says sports, they've got 20,491. And on the right-hand side, it says the sports unit got 51,649.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So I believe that was the. Trying to remember. Yeah, so that's for the first day. It's like the snapshot. So it's the breakdown. I gotta dig into that breakdown.
So I mean, there are several, that's the big difference, but I mean, there are others like
Yeah,
HCFA on the left, it says 7744, and on the right, it says 21,796. So
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out what the,
offhand, I'm thinking some of them are combined together to make it over to the right, but I'll ask James how he did it and get it back to
Okay.
you.
I think
Alright,
if you look at the numbers, the work center tennis and the work center sports combined
Yeah.
appear to be sports unit. Those numbers appear to be combined on the left to make the
Yeah.
single line on the right. I just happened to look at that when you were talking.
Good
Huh.
job, Doug.
okay. That is,
Because otherwise, all
And then I
the
think-
other line items are the same.
I think you're right with the Hillcrest Center for the Arts on the left, the elementary music was added together to make the number on the right.
Mhm.
okay. I didn't look at every single number, just said a couple of those just look
Oh, sure.
significantly different. I couldn't figure it out, so.
Sure.
Then the second question I had on that page, I'm sorry, on the prior page, page 69. And you've probably explained this before, but what is the difference between contract part-time and instruction contracts?
So it's, oh, they're so complicated. So it basically has to do with the number of hours worked within a pay period. So instruction contracts might be a substantially shorter amount of period. Yeah. And they're what Tim, you can talk to.
So we have our instruction contracts are actually like our percentage contractors. So they're not actual CRPD employees, are the ones we contract out on a percentage contract split. Our part-time salaries are our part-time staff of a high, like Melissa was saying, of a higher hours. So they're what we call part-time base or part-time plus employees. So they're 25 hours to 35 hours per week. And then the contract part-time is a term we used to have for they're more of a 19-hour per week, 15-hour per week part-time employee. So we categorize them into different budget lines based on, because they have different benefits that are accompanied to their status.
Okay. The final question I have then, and I'm guessing it may still be a work in progress with the state of California, determining who's a contract employee versus who's an independent contractor versus who's an employee. If the state somewhere along the line determines that most of our independent contractors are indeed employees, how significantly will these numbers be impacted?
Well, we don't know yet. I think it would depend on whether or not those whether those contractors would be willing to become employees and at what rate. And it's just something we're not going to know until we have to have those conversations with them. I can see some saying, no, they don't want to. I can see some wanting more than we're willing to offer. Or setting up a new model where it's more like a commission-based thing, we might have to do something like that. So it's a big unknown right now. And if we were able to fit people into our current model, I don't expect the changes to be too dramatic, but I don't know that people would voluntarily be supervised at an employer level without any additional compensation.
Okay. Yet to be determined then. Thank you.
Yes.
I think you, Director Lang.
Yes, thank you, Chair Cuthbert. On the topic of elementary music and new program, what have we had in the past? Middle school and high school only? Is that it? Like those programs that were presented at the Civic Arts Plaza?
Director Lang, it's actually the same program. It just never used to be run through our registration. It was done through ACCV. So it's the same program. It's just now under our umbrella rather than the Arts Council.
Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Director Nichols?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to verify what you said, these numbers are just one day of registration, a single day, okay? So that's a lot of revenue for a single day.
Yes.
Now, the typical trend, I know everyone's wants to get that class and they're, waiting with bated breath for that clock to tick so they can register. My daughter does that too. I know how it goes. But what is the typical trend? Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, down to 7. I mean, the bulk I would imagine is on day 1. So with that said, of this, is this representing 50% of the registration that you would typically expect? 10%, 90%? Is there any estimates on that?
Good question, Director Nichols. That is the heaviest day, the first day for sure. Just to give you a brief snapshot, like going back to 2019, which was our last pre-COVID session of winter. At the end of the first day, we had a roughly 125,000, and we ended that whole season with about 546,000. So I don't know the percentage of that off the top of my head, but after the first day here, after that was on January 10th, and then we just wrapped up our first week of out of district registration on the 17th, and we were up to 385,000.
Okay.
So it incrementally changes, but it does slow down. As we
Okay.
go.
And then just the way you stated that, Ms. Smith, as far as we're making more money, but I know what you mean, but in essence, we're getting more revenue, but we're taking that revenue or putting it right back into the programs to give the community what they're wanting to sign up for. So it's not like we're necessarily putting it in the bank. We're trying to respond to their obvious votes by dollars, by spending money, saying, okay, if you want it, then we'll provide it, and just continue to ramp up. Because I know in the past couple of years, it's like you're throwing things out there and kind of waiting to see, are they going to sign up or are they not, before we start investing in signing up more instructors. So that's in essence this is the message you're getting, is like, yeah, go for it, invest, because we will sign up. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, you said it much better than
Perfect.
I.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, because I some people might hear that we're making more money and thinking, well, great, what are you going to do with it? Well, we're already spending it. Thank you.
We're increasing our offerings.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
Thank you for that. That's good information.
Any other comments? No, I think it's sort of, if you build it, they will come. If you have it, they will come. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. It's good to hear. I know that when the Stagecoach Inn opened up again, all of a sudden they would start getting like 100 people coming out. I think people are tired of being inside. They're wanting to get their kids off of screens. They're wanting to get them off of video games and saying, well, we've had enough of that. Maybe we need to explore a little bit. And I think that's great. Hopefully that trend will stay. Director Lang.
Yeah, I think a positive takeaway and, with this COVID business is that more people know about CRPD, after being locked up for so long at the initial stages of this, and they were looking for activities and events to be involved with. And some of them probably never knew about CRPD or never got involved in any of our programs. So I think we're riding the wave associated with that, situation.
Well, this is all very good news. Do I have a motion to recommend this budget adjustment? Director Lang?
Yes, I'm happy to approve staff recommendation, approve proposed FY 2021-22 budget adjustments, Exhibit A.
Second on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. So you do not need to say anything unless somebody has a question
That's
or
right.
comment. Okay, so take a breath. There we go. Any comments on this? On the recreation, Mr. Lang?
Yes, I'm very impressed reading through the highlights in the winter break camps. And the fact that the parents were so impressed with the foods and so forth that they were looking for the recipes. Looking for the recipes that is a program. So that says a lot.
Any other comments? Yes, Director Huffer.
Just a couple of brief comments, and probably this is a city question rather than a park district question, but all the millions of dollars we're getting out of the park dedication fees, I was just sort of curious as to how there can be a single property with 4 ADUs.
It's allowed.
I thought there was a maximum of 2.
No, it depends on the situation. And like, I think this particular one had a couple for traditional ADUs. And then it also had like a garage conversion or a laundry room or something like that. So if you're able to do it on your existing facility, you can have more.
Okay. And then a quick question for Melissa on the budget performance report for the 3 assessment districts. Although the property assessments were in December, I'm assuming there's a time lag before we actually pocket those funds. So that's why, say for the district-wide assessment district, we only have 13% of our revenue received so far.
Trying to see where you're at. Sorry.
Page
Page
Oh, yeah.
95.
Yeah, some just come a little late sometimes. And so we're not worried about that.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, moving on. So our department reports, Parks Division report.
Yep. Thanks, Chair Cuthbert, members of the board. To see everyone on Saturday at 11 o'clock for the Teen Center Global Groundbreaking. I'm available for questions.
Are you serving food?
Yes.
Not for you, just for Ed.
Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the update that we received on our new Page Lane Neighborhood Park. Just curious, with all the rains that we had, how did that affect the schedule of that particular park?
About 2 weeks, we're
2
down.
weeks.
Yeah, even though, a week of, like, for lack of word, obvious
Yeah.
rain, and then about another week of it just had to dry out. Yeah.
Because I know you're doing a lot of the work for drainage there too,
Mhm.
so obviously you have to wait for that, so.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple weeks, that's not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Okay, is that a lot of rain? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Hare? Moving on. So Recreation Division report, Mr. Doer.
Chair Cusworth, members of the board, I'll be quick because I know you got the 7:30 meeting coming up. Just 2 quick things to add. Director Holt mentioned, but we had Wellness Fest yesterday. That was a big undertaking by Julie Spivak of CSVP. A couple weeks before, had to move it outside, and then there was concerns with the weather, and vendors dropping out of concern. So they finished with 45 vendors and they estimate approximately 350 attendees yesterday. It was a great event. And then as our Commissioner Steve mentioned earlier today with the commission, they are currently accepting applications for 5 of the terms that are up. They're due to expire on June 30th, and those applications are accepted up until 5 p.m. on Monday, February 28th. And those are all to be turned in at the Global Adult Community Center. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Director Lang.
Yes, Tim, is the Global Cafe open to the public still?
Yes, it's still open.
And Director Holt.
I was just going to say, Julie Spivak, she coordinated so many different things, but this was great, and she just does such a good job. And everybody there was happy, and all the volunteers were just, greeting everybody, and just, and it was such a positive event, even though not as big as they wanted, but still, it was great.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Yes.
We can continue our regular meeting, but for those multitudes tuning in to Zoom for the 7:30 special meeting, we will commence the special meeting immediately upon the adjournment of this regular meeting as we continue. So we'll finish the regular meeting, and the special meeting will commence immediately at the end of the regular meeting.
Okay. And with that, Management Services, Mrs. Smith.
So my report will be brief, but it was already kind of mentioned in the report for the mini grants, or what we were calling them. We submitted the request to Department of Finance for reimbursement for some of our COVID-related costs from the $100 million appropriation in the state budget, and we received $178,000 back. So that was my big yay, it actually happened. So thank you for the support through that. It was quite a lot of work. And so that's my update for this one.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Friedel.
I might follow up, and then Director Cusworth as chair, on behalf of the whole board, we did just pen a thank you note to all of the legislators we had been pestering like crazy all last year, trying to get that state money to recognize all the work CRPD did. So we did follow up with a thank you note that Chair Cusworth will be writing to our legislators. Speaking of that, I am meeting with Assembly Member Irwin tomorrow around noonish. If anybody has any particular things they'd like me to chat with, see me after the meeting or whatever, but it's primarily to just check in with our assembly person, who's extremely accessible and helpful, and I'm gonna just ask about what does a $37 billion surplus look like at the state level. So just kind of have a conversation and see how things are going with our state rep. And we do have a need for a closed session. So during the special meeting, so I don't necessarily need to announce anything now, but with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions? Director Huffer.
Is the daughter okay?
Yes, Director Huffer, she within the first 50 steps she took playing soccer for the first time in a few years, pulled whatever your muscle that lifts your leg up, it's sort of like a hip flexor or something, and she was done.
Oh, my.
Didn't properly stretch.
Because the 20-somethings think, oh, I'm still a teenager, and they're like 24, 25, and she just literally 50 steps, like ran one half of the field and was done. Yeah. And she was a college soccer player.
Oh, my.
Amazing how that works.
Any other pertinent questions for Mr. Friedel? Okay, moving on, we'll do our director's reports. We'll start over here, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On January 19th, had the Rancho Potrero Community Equestrian Center Ad Hoc Committee. And preceding that in the morning was the California Association of Recreation Park Districts. We had a Zoom meeting that lasted for about an hour in the morning. And something that came up, which perhaps you could share with Assemblymember Irwin was many of the topics that we cover go rather quickly, but the legislative and the finance are always the hot buttons of this group. And when we got to talking about that, one of the issues that came up was the governor's proposal to, in essence, double our individual taxes based on his effort to try and bolster the healthcare for the state. And one of the things that came out of that discussion was with the state continuing to make impacts on local communities, whether it be in the planning realm of allowing ADUs or multifamily housing, or taking the local control away. And in this case, it's impacting the ability for special districts such as ours to try and generate revenue in some way, whether it be a revenue measure or otherwise. When the state continues to elevate the taxes for everybody, it makes it very difficult to have some type of local control. And so that was one of the things that came out is and everyone's kind of saying, oh yeah, absolutely. While we all have our pet projects, I don't know that everybody in the group throughout the state is wanting to do a revenue measure, but they are all clamoring to get some relief from COVID over the last couple of years as much as possible. And when the state as a whole is kind of gathering up all whatever resources might be from the populace, it makes it very difficult for smaller organizations, whether it be a special district, a city, or even a county for some way, to also try to meet their needs. So maybe that's something you could pass along to Assemblymember Irwin and say, well, maybe it's good for the state, but it's going to be difficult, or I don't know that I could use the term harmful, but challenging for local entities to try and meet our needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'm sorry. Okay, you want to comment?
No.
Oh, to move on. I'm sorry. I was kind of in a mode. Let's just go around the circle. Let's go with Director Huffer and then we'll come around, just so I can keep track of where we are. Director Huffer.
Thank you. Just very briefly, I had a chance to catch the tail end of the Health Expo over at the Global Center on Wednesday, and it was a great program. And as you said, Director Holt, Julie was running all over the place, and I guess that's why she needed a 4-day weekend. So, so I did that, and Julie's also been supporting the tax program, which we're currently going through the training, and we're opening up February 1st. And so doing the training, and we'll get started with that very soon. So Julie's been involved with that as well. So when she gets back from her restful vacation, thank her for me.
Okay, thank you, Director Huffer. Director Holt? Director Lang?
Yes, I attended the property acquisition ad hoc committee and the Rancho Potrero ad hoc committee. Had a MRCA meeting and I was reelected chair. That concludes
All right.
my report.
And
Good.
how many years have you been chair?
Well, probably 12.
Wow.
Was it a hotly contested election?
I was nominated and got elected, so.
Okay, so request for status reports and items for subsequent agendas, anything? Oh, I have nothing to report. So now we're on to 12. Do we have a request? Yes.
Just to follow up with our previous comments for the general manager, since I brought up the policy manual, I just was wondering, I kind of just threw that at you. Just curious, thoughts, some of the things you've been ruminating on, any input on that or any status update on that?
I have a pile of paper on my desk that Aline has graciously, Aline's not here, graciously provided. So we're assembling.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other items? All right, so do we have anyone from the public waiting for us online that they want to make a comment? Okay, no items for the public, so we'll be having an executive closed session, but I would like to adjourn this meeting at this time. All right,
Now we have to open the special meeting.
now we'll open our special meeting.
So we actually have a special meeting agenda, and I can, for the record, say that all 5 board members are here and present.